Okay, so Bitcoin got its ETF. Then Ethereum got the nod. The institutional floodgates are, officially open. But there's this one sleeping giant that's been waiting in the wings, XRP. So today, we're going to break down whether an ETF could be that one big catalyst that finally pushes it to a whole new level.
You've probably heard the rumors flying around, and believe me, the market is watching. So the big question is an XRP ETF just another headline we'll forget about in a week? Or is it the actual rocket fuel needed to completely shatter its old records?
And this is the magic number, $3.84. That was the all-time high, way back in January of 2018. I mean, for anyone who's been holding on, it has been a very long and, let's be honest, pretty painful wait for another shot at that peak.
Now, this idea that an ETF can just completely change the game for an asset, it's not just a theory. We've literally seen this exact playbook run before and with huge success.
I mean, just look at what happened with Bitcoin and Ethereum. As soon as their spot ETFs got approved, the institutional floodgates just blew wide open. We're talking billions of dollars pouring in from traditional finance. See, these things aren't just investment products. They're like a golden seal of approval that puts an asset on the map for pension funds, for wealth managers, and for all the big banks.
So, all these institutions want regulated crypto exposure. The question is, what's next in line? Well, XRP has a really compelling case, and it's all thanks to this one unique advantage that pretty much no other altcoin can claim.
To really get why XRP is in this position, you have to look at this timeline. So it hits its peak in 2018, right? Then in 2020, the SEC lawsuit drops and everything gets thrown into uncertainty. But the real game changer, the pivotal moment, came in July 2023. That's when Judge Torres ruled that XRP, when it's sold to regular folks on exchanges, is not a security.
And that ruling, it created what a lot of people are calling a regulatory moat around XRP. It gave it a level of legal clarity here in the US that just massively de-risks the asset for those potential ETF issuers, the BlackRocks and Fidelities of the world. It basically puts it right near the front of the line.
So how exactly does an ETF make the price move so much? Well, it all boils down to some pretty simple supply and demand economics, and it creates this thing called a supply shock. Okay, and the word spot is crucial here. A spot ETF is the key, because it means the company issuing it has to go out and buy and physically hold the real XRP tokens to back up every single share they sell to investors.
So think about what this means. When big institutions start pouring billions of dollars into an XRP ETF, the issuer has to go onto the open market and buy up billions of dollars worth of actual XRP. Then they lock those tokens away. So all this massive new buying pressure slams into a supply that's already held by long-term believers, and boom, you get that classic supply shock.
Okay, so keeping that mechanism in mind, what could this actually look like by 2026? Well, the timeline is really important here, because most analysts think 2025 is when we'd see the filings with a potential launch and all that big money flowing in sometime in 2026.
So analysts have kind of mapped out a few scenarios. In a conservative case, just a neutral market. The ETF could easily push XRP past its old high, maybe landing somewhere in that $3 to $5 range. The more optimistic case, especially if it lines up with a big crypto bull run, is targeting $6 to $10. And the extreme bull case? Well, if global adoption really takes off, some people see a path to $15 or even higher. But we gotta be realistic here. It's definitely not a guaranteed straight shot to the moon. So let's talk about the hurdles that could derail this whole 2026 dream. There are some major variables still in play. For one, the SEC could appeal the Ripple rulings or just drag its feet on approving an ETF. A big global recession could also just dry up the appetite for crypto assets, ETF or not. And of course, you always have to factor in the competition from other fast, low-cost payment networks out there.
This quote from one of our sources really just sums it all up perfectly. An XRP ETF is like the golden ticket. The potential is absolutely massive, but at the end of the day, the government, the regulators, they still control the Wonka factory, and they've proven to be pretty unpredictable.
So, when you put all these pieces together, you've got the precedent, the mechanics, the huge potential, and of course the risks. What's the final verdict here? The verdict is that it really looks like a perfect storm is brewing for 2026. You have that regulatory moat from the court ruling. You have the proven demand for crypto ETFs from big money. And you've got a market cycle timeline that could line all of this up with a peak bull run. The potential for this sleeping giant to finally wake up, it's undeniable. Which really just leaves us with one final question to think about. For an asset that's been building partnerships and utility for years now, is an ETF that final, missing piece of the puzzle needed to unlock its full potential on the world stage? I guess the next 18 months or so are going to give us the answer.